Well, today is Saturday, January 31st, the last day of January. This is an authentic conversation. I am Sonny Hamilton. I'm here with my co hosts,
Darren Hamilton.
And John Walser.
and we have a guest on the phone. And you introduce yourself.
Jason Foss.
And Jason lives in California, but we're not going to disclose where. So, we have a lot going on. There's a lot of news about guns. And so we brought Jason on because he is a Second Amendment. I don't know. Would you call yourself a educated Second Amendment? And so is John.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if either one of you would say yourself as experts, but if you are, that's fine.
We'll call you experts.
We'll call you experts. We think you're an expert compared to us. So,
Okay.
Interested might be the right word.
I would say that. Yeah.
So we are an independent media. We're on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. And our speech is not controlled by investors or corporate entities. So we can freely report what we see and change as new information comes in. We just wanted to make sure we get that out there to you guys. But since this is a Second Amendment topic, the main part, it's pretty broad. And that's why we have two experts on here to talk about the Second Amendment, because Darren and I, while we know a bit about the Second Amendment, we're not anywhere near experts.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people fall into that category of we
We know
I wear
it's-
2A on a hat. One of my hats has 2A, but most of us don't really understand what the implications, what it means, what it doesn't mean. So anyway, I look forward to the conversation today also with these guys.
So the main thing is that that happened is Alex Preddy. He's the guy that was in Minnesota that had a scuffle, I guess you could say, with law
Chose to have a scuffle.
He did choose to have a scuffle with law enforcement. And we have different opinions here about law enforcement. Darren and I are pretty, well, maybe I should speak for myself, but I'm a supporter of law enforcement as long as they don't, go too far or anything like that.
I'm a supporter of law enforcement. My grandpa was a sheriff. He was a border patrolman many moons ago. My sister was a sergeant with the sheriff's department. So I saw, I mean, I didn't know my grandpa, so I don't know a whole lot from his standpoint, but I saw things from the other side of the coin when with my sister when she was on the force. So I'm pretty soft on law enforcement because don't get in their way. If just don't get in their way. If they've got an active anything going on, then steer clear. I've never been thrown out of my car. I've never been treated disrespectfully by them, but I've always treated them
either.
respectfully.
I haven't either. I've never had. I used this word before. It was scuffle, but it's not a scuffle.
Skerfuffle.
Skerfuffle. So anyway, but I've never had anything. If they say, move your hands here, hand me your license, okay, I may have to pay a fine. But
yeah, I'm good about having my hands up on the steering wheel when I come up. I have my hands up on the steering wheel.
I don't want to have any problem with law enforcement, and I just abide by what they say. I just don't offer a whole lot.
Yeah, so anyway.
Anyway, John, and then we'll have Jason talk about his.
Well, I I'm not necessarily saying that I have a whole lot of problem with law enforcement. I think that they have their place, but if they're acting within their constitutional oath, um, then there's really no problem. But if they step outside of that and start standing behind qualified immunity and things like that and getting away with things that they shouldn't get away with, then that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, and I think ego and whatnot can really play a part sometimes too. But I guess from my standpoint, even there again, those ICE officers, I don't think you're going to be an ICE officer if you don't have a little bit of if it. I would never be an ICE officer because I don't like to fight. I don't want to be
Well,
hit. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't
as
want
I've
any of that.
as I've said, on a prior, I forget how far back, so I apologize. Um, a prior podcast, that if these guys are in the middle of an operation, just don't even go there.
Yeah,
Just let them
that
do
would
their thing.
simplify it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all have the right to be there. We all have the right to speak out and protest. We all have the right to carry guns. It doesn't matter what state we're in, as far as I'm concerned. But when we're in the middle of an operation that is literally worldwide right now,
Yeah,
just stay out of the way.
somebody's going to
How-
get hurt.
How about you, Jason?
So I'm a supporter of the law enforcement. I think too, if we look at it, it's one of those jobs that's not an easy job. We all want them, but we rarely want to do it. I would also say too that we do need to remember, like we've already heard, there is a human aspect, and whether we like it or not, and like other professions, you can't tell me there's at least 1% of error and there's not at least 1% of faulty people. And when there's thousands of people doing it, not everybody's going to be perfect. And when you're in tough situations where tough decisions have to be made at the drop of a hat,
Mhm.
the human aspect will come into play. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think it depends on how we put ourselves in that situation and see, what we're affecting on that. But I don't know. Do we want to level set on what the Second Amendment really is before we dive
Sure.
too
Yeah.
deep?
Sure.
Yeah,
And I don't
absolutely.
know, Ed, just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Go
absolutely.
ahead.
So and John, feel free to jump in anytime here.
Sure.
The Second Amendment states that it's a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Mhm.
And really, I like to look at things from a law perspective. So really, when we look at the Supreme Court, there's two major cases that have really set the standard for many things today. And that was the Heller decision in 2008.
Yep.
And that established the right to possess firearms for lawful purposes, and that firearms in common use for lawful purposes cannot be banned. At this time, rifles were considered good and handguns were considered evil. And Heller came out with this, that, again, firearms used for lawful purposes cannot be banned. And they established there that you're unable to ban handguns. So now it's kind of a coincidence that now handguns are okay, and And
That's funny.
rifles are bad, but that might be a different conversation for a different day. And then the other major opinion was the Bruin opinion, which came out in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And that had two major parts. One of them was the concealed carry, which I'll refer to as CCW. It changed the standard. Many states, many blue states, they had the theory that we may issue a permit if we feel like it. But the Supreme Court changed that from a may issue to they shall issue,
Mm-hmm.
which is big. And then the other piece was when looking at the constitutionality of gun control regulations, most states were using a two-part test. Is the Second Amendment implicated? And then interest balancing. Hey, how does this affect the whole of the people? But the Supreme Court came back and struck down that two-part test. And really, it's if it affects the Second Amendment and you're talking about a regulation, then the burden was placed on the government that they had to show that there is a tradition of law, tradition of regulation, going back to essentially the ratification of the Constitution and the 14th Amendment in 1791 and 1868, that there were laws affecting that then. And so that's really put a damper on all the government regulation, which they're zigging and zagging and trying to find other ways to get around it. And there's a number of cases at the Supreme Court that should further restrict that going forward. So that's, in a nutshell, the development in the last 20, 25 years of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, so there was actually the McDonald versus City of Chicago in 2010 that actually
Yep.
extended the Heller decision, ruling
Yep.
that the Second Amendment applies to the state and local governments, thereby limiting their ability as well to infringe upon our right to bear arms. So if you go clear
Yes.
back to 1803, I believe it was 1803, it kind of throws everything out the window.
Yep.
All laws repugnant to the Constitution are null and void.
Mhm.
And so, and there's actually the fraud decision with Throckmorton as well, and I don't remember what year that was off the top of my head, but
It's okay.
so anyway, yes, there we go.
So those are really good things because I would not have known all of that. So
No,
I guess I could have looked it up, but I haven't
we don't.
gotten that. Yeah.
We don't usually look that kind of stuff up, it seems like. But one of the things that I find interesting when Jason started reading that Second Amendment, and I think we'd seen it earlier when we were discussing it too between us and John, was it's talking about a
well-regulated militia.
well-regulated militia in a
Mhm.
free state. We don't really have those things going on, it seems like. I
No.
mean, I brought up the fact of the National Guard back there in Minnesota running like chickens to their trucks when the protesters came at them, and I don't blame them. That'd probably be something I'd do.
So, and Jason, I might have this wrong, but and please tell me if I do. So, my understanding when it talks about a well-regulated militia, that's the people, not a standing army. Am I correct in that?
Correct. That the people were expected to have bearable arms, so they had to bring their own. They had to have supply of their own arms, their own ammunition, in order to, defend the state. And there's a lot of mention of a tyrannical government to defend against a tyrannical government. And I think all one needs to do is look at Venezuela and see what's happened in the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
25 years ago, the people were able to have arms, and I don't remember exactly when they were taken away. Probably 2005, 2010, and look at the state. You know, there were people being basically murdered in the street because they didn't have guns to defend themselves.
Right.
I didn't realize it was that recently that they lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
They lost their
And
ability. That is substantial.
The UK, Canada, well, Canada has some
Yep.
guns, I think, but the UK, they've pulled all of them. Australia, I believe that they've lost their guns.
Yep.
So
And they
Canada,
just had a big mass murder too. It was kind of interesting.
that's
Kind of
right.
coincidental.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
did.
Yeah. And so what this comes down to is that Alex Preddy was the gentleman in Minneapolis that had a skirmish with the police, and he had a gun on him, and which is not illegal. He had apparently had a concealed carry, and it was legal, like I said. But we've also heard, we haven't seen this, but we've also heard he didn't have that CCP on him. But regardless, he did have a gun on him. So that's where we're talking about the Second Amendment, is because he did have a right to
He had
go
a
down-
right to protest. He had a right to carry his gun.
Yeah, but
Peaceful protest.
Yes.
Peaceful
John.
protest.
Peaceful
Yes.
protest.
So
Yep.
the reason why this came up, for those of you out there, is because, and you probably saw this yourselves as well, but was that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both said it was not a good idea to take a gun to a riot. And the left just erupted and said, it is not illegal. And they said, well, we never said it was illegal. We just said it's not a good idea to take a gun to a riot. It's just not a good idea. And those of us who are
Sonny,
yeah,
Sonny, something very interesting is, and I will use the great governor of California, Gavin Newsom, as an example. He came out stating that, yes, he had a right to it. But the peculiar thing is, he has signed into law that in the great state of California, it's illegal to be armed while you are protesting, peacefully protesting.
Isn't that
So just
funny?
an interesting note.
Yes, it
Ironic.
is. Yeah,
Ironic.
it is ironic. You're right, and that's a good point.
Do you know he can go to prison for that?
Who's that?
Gavin Newsom.
Oh,
But I bet he doesn't.
no, I'm sure he doesn't go to prison for that. But
18 USC 241, 242. Conspiracy to deprive rights under color of law.
yeah,
hmm
I mean, if we could get somebody to prosecute him,
Well,
it would
that's
be
just the
good.
problem is that
Yeah.
a lot of these judges are bought.
Right,
But, you know, I mean, the laws are still there.
So,
Right.
so again, he had a gun on him, and it was a legal gun, but it was not a good idea to have a scuffle with the police if you have a gun on you.
Most of this stuff is just common sense.
Well, and those,
but that's
yeah.
that's what is missing. It's just kind of like the argument, you know, you got a scantily clad woman going to a bar in New York City in the middle of the night and having to walk, you know, to get to her car or whatever. Well, it's legal, but you can say it's not
kinda-
fair, but it's really not smart.
No, it's
So
not smart for her to do
there's
that.
a lot of things that are
Could
legal,
happen.
but if you don't have a brain to tell you, well, this is not going to probably turn out well. I've got the right to do it, but it's not going to turn out well.
Right.
So I'm going to repeat myself again. If you're in the area of an operation where ICE or any federal agents are
Any law
working or
enforcement of
any law enforcement, don't bother them. Just let them do their job.
Well, that's what sane people say.
I get that.
But these are not sane people. So the other thing is that the left claims that Kyle Rittenhouse took a gun with him to the streets during the George Floyd riots, which is true. That is true. And they've used this argument after, like I said, Pam Bondi and Cash Patel said it wasn't a good idea. And they're screaming, it's not against the law. No, it's not. It's not against the law. But as John has said and Jason has said, don't go. Just don't go.
Well, then Jason, you brought up a really good point in regards to the Rittenhouse kid as to why he ended up shooting the people. So share with the audience
Yeah,
as to
share
why.
what you said.
Yeah, well, so Kyle was not out instigating. He was defending, and then he was attacked, and one of the things was he was getting beaten with a skateboard, and so that shooting was completely justified because of the fact that he could articulate and demonstrate that his life was in danger, and that justified his actions.
Yeah.
Which was proved in a court of law.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So, again, the federal law and different states have laws about whether or not you can carry concealed carry or open carry. And we found out, we looked at it, and Minnesota is one of them that allows both.
Yeah, if you have a permit.
If you have a permit, right, you can do both. So
the other note about Minnesota is that they are also a duty to retreat state.
I hadn't heard that.
That does not apply to military. That applies to
the public,
a CCW holder, and I believe even in defending your own home.
Yep, you still
in the
have to
great state of
retreat.
Minnesota, you have to prove that you could not get away and you could not you could not retreat before you used before lethal force was engaged upon.
Oh wow.
So-
Free state.
yeah. So
Yes.
right.
So you know what Idaho is?
What, you little braggart?
We have the castle doctrine. We can stand our ground even on property, clear out to our driveway.
Oh wow. Very nice.
Interestingly, California has that as well. I think it only extends from our door. I don't think it goes. I'm not positive. I should watch what I say, but my understanding is that it only applies to from your inside your house.
Right. So
Or residence, I should say.
Each state obviously has their own version of the castle doctrine, but check this out. So, and I've never looked this up before, but Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, of all places, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Texas, Mississippi, and Idaho all have castle doctrine, which I'm really surprised at Hawaii because I don't even think you can get a concealed permit in Hawaii.
Right, you cannot. That's what they said.
That's actually changed because of lawsuits.
Oh, really?
It's starting. Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. So, do you have anything else to add on that, John?
No.
Okay. Also, the left claim that the J6ers were committing an insurrection, and in what was that, 2021?
I don't remember.
But none of the MAGA J6ers that were detained had a gun on them. So
one thing on that, Sonny's, I don't know that they offer. And again, I should have probably done the homework. I apologize, but I don't know that many of them offer reciprocity and or even at that time were issuing any CCWs.
In
So I
2021.
don't even know that anybody had any permits, so they were probably smart enough not to
Carry.
go illegally,
Okay.
carry illegally. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense because most of them weren't from there. Yeah, I didn't even
Right.
even think about that.
Yeah. That's a
being the
good
case.
point.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
can we go back to the Second Amendment here, Jason, for a second?
Sure.
And I'm just gonna ask a really dumb question, but I'm asking it more for the people out there than us. Do you see any state boundaries named in the Second Amendment?
Nope.
Do you
No, I don't.
do you
And
see
my belief is, and I believe there's some bills on it, but my belief is if you have a CCW, it should be like your driver's license.
Right.
Your driver's license, your marriage license, it doesn't stop at the border. Like if we go to Nevada, I don't have to get a new driver's license to go into Nevada.
well, but so that shall not be infringed. How does that
Mm-hmm.
how does that um get to, well, let's see here.
You said it was a dumb question, but it's a dumb question not to ask. It's dumb not to ask that question. Most of us, it didn't even cross our minds.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So there's no
Yes.
there's no city boundaries, there's no county boundaries, there's no state boundaries. In fact, when you look at those last four words, shall not be infringed, how can you take a right and make it into a privilege?
Because
when you ask for a permit, you're asking for permission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I always say, any privilege that is given to you by man can be taken by man. Any law.
Now, John, that's an interesting point. There are a couple people I know that refuse to get a CCW, and they do concealed carry, and they're very law-abiding folks, and that's for that exact reason.
Yep. I do not have a permit. And, in the state of Idaho, if you're over 21 years of age and you can, quote unquote, I hate the word, but if you can legally carry, lawfully carry, you do not have to have a permit to carry concealed in the state of Idaho.
That's why, to me, the Constitution, everything is kind of a joke. I hate to say it, but I feel like it's kind of a joke because you can see right here in this conversation how much stuff is just not abided by.
Are you sure that the Constitution is a joke or the application of it?
Well, the application doesn't
Yeah.
matter. If it was true, it says right there a free state. It doesn't talk about city lines or state lines.
No, it
or
doesn't.
boundaries.
Yeah.
It's just a blanket.
But that's federal. That our Constitution is federal, correct?
Right. But our Constitution, correct me if I'm wrong, should usurp authority over anything state level.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
But
It does. There, Marbury versus Madison. All laws contrary to the Constitution.
Yeah, but I
are null
guarantee
and
you,
void.
when I went back to Illinois or wherever it was to pick up that hoof trim and shoot, if I would have got caught going through Minnesota with my concealed carry, then it would have been a big old fiasco.
Well, it's designed to drain your bank account.
Yeah, but when you look at the Constitution,
when you say
I
that, what
have
do
the
you mean
right
by that,
going
John?
to that
It
attorney
means that
we
they
listen
get to be bullies and take you to court and take you to
gotcha.
court.
Okay.
And if you fight it, It
Mhm.
just, it's thousands upon
Gotcha.
thousands of
Okay.
dollars.
I just wanted to
Even
make sure.
though
I
they
figured
know,
that's what you meant, but
yeah,
I wanted to, just because there's somebody out there probably
yeah,
going to ask
even though they
exactly
know
what
they
that.
don't have a leg to stand on
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and the laws are there.
Yeah.
So, Jason, and I haven't talked about this with these guys here, but, and I just learned about this the other day. So, what does it mean, do you think, when you walk into a court and you have standing?
Have standing.
So what that means is that oh, I'm trying to think how to best articulate it.
Right?
Apologize.
No, that's
It's
good.
basically that you are a part of the action and you have a direct, it directly affects you, or you've directly been involved. So here's, I'll give you an example. So in California, they have added an additional 11% tax if you purchase a firearm. So if I go and sue the state of California because, hey, that 11% tax, that's unconstitutional, it burdens my ability to bear arms. But I haven't purchased anything, I do not have standing. But if I go and purchase that and pay for it, now then that gives me right to sue because I have paid for that. I've paid that 11% tax, and that tax has affected me,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
that does.
that does. But past 1871, if you are a quote unquote, which none of us four really are, even though we say we are, we're not citizens of this country because we can't be. We don't live within that 10-mile square back in Virginia and Maryland
Of DC.
of
You're talking about,
DC.
right?
Yep. So we have to file, and I'm in the middle of doing this. So you have to file a affidavit of revocation, and you send your birth certificate in, because what your birth certificate isn't a certificate of live birth. That is actually, and this sounds really gross, and I couldn't hardly believe it when I first learned about it, but basically they took your placenta and made that a baby. No kidding. It's it's just how
Interesting.
sick these people are. So basically your all caps name isn't you. Your driver's license is not you. That is your straw man. That is the placenta, quote unquote, that they used. You're lost at sea. You're dead. You are a dead entity.
And that's because of the law, the Constitution of the Republic, right?
Instead of four.
That's
Yep.
because that's when it became a corporation.
Yes. So each one of us are a corporation on its own, or our driver's license is.
Or birth certificate.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
it's a really, really deep look. The spider web, it goes so deep and so vast, and it was designed that way so that we couldn't put all the pieces of the puzzle
Confusion.
together. Exactly. Yep.
So,
Licensing or permit, no state shall convert a liberty into a license and charge a fee. Therefore, Murdoch versus it was Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, 319 U.S. 105. If a state converts a right or a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can, now, citizen meaning you're working within the corporate structure, can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right or liberty with impunity. Shuttlesworth versus City of Birmingham, Alabama, 373 U.S. 262. So there is court cases. There's cases out there that back that up. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot to take in. It really is.
Yeah, if you've got the money to fight, if you're willing
Yeah.
to fight, if you're willing to learn,
but most people, well, it's easier just to,
it's not worth the fight.
yep.
I hate
Yeah.
fighting.
And it's sad because once they've started down that slippery slope, and the more people that say that, that's how we end up losing. What did that lady ask out on the front steps of Independence Hall? Benjamin Franklin. She goes, "Do we have a monarch or a
Democracy?
no, republic?"
Oh, republic.
And he says, "A republic if you can keep it."
Oh, right. Yeah.
And we have not done a very good job of keeping it.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't believe so.
Don't you agree,
Yeah.
Jason?
Yes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to
So-
keep on rambling. I apologize. I'll keep my mouth shut now.
No, that's okay. So a lot of people have said that when we're talking about all these different things, the Alex Preddy, the J6ers, Kyle Rittenhouse, that were splitting hairs, and that there's a difference, is that that Alex came with a loaded gun, and he was there to protest the feds. And there is a video from a week before where he had an encounter again, scuffle with the feds. And interestingly enough, the left portrays him as a saint. He's the most wonderful man. He's the one you would want to take home to your. You'd
Your
want to take
parents,
home.
meet home, meet your parents.
Yeah, take home. And but they say he didn't have a mean bone. He didn't have a violent bone in his body. He's just the perfect person. And yet, what we see a week prior is him spitting on
Ice Agents
ICE
vehicle.
agents and then kicking their tail light out. And it's like, okay. And then the other thing that they talked about is we've heard, we have not been able to confirm this, but was that during that first scuffle that he had a broken rib. So if Alex got a broken rib, the question is, how did he have the strength, excuse me, to fight like he did?
Well, while you're taking a drink, I'll say it again. Last year, I bruised 3 ribs falling on a piece of concrete. And I'll tell you what, I was in pain for weeks
Yeah.
with bruised ribs.
Yeah, I don't know how he could fight like that if he had a broken rib.
Yeah.
I mean, he was literally, you
Yeah,
could see
no,
his body.
he wasn't fighting with a broken rib. If he was fighting with a broken rib, he was on meth or something, which makes
We
me
haven't
wonder,
heard that.
honestly. I mean, I don't know how, because he was kind of a scrawny dude, and how you fight that many officers that are all trying to get on top of you and subdue you. I mean, that's a lot to subdue. And he didn't look like your fitness giant.
Well, according to MSNBC, he looked really nice.
Yeah, after they darkened him up and strengthened his
broadened his chin,
jawline,
yeah.
gave him more whiskers.
Cleared the picture up.
Yeah, cleared the picture,
and gave him
Straightened
better
his-
looking eyes.
straightened his teeth.
Yeah, everything looked better. He was. They actually never have apologized for that. But anyway,
Sometimes I wonder when I look at that stuff, because we were laughing a little bit ago about peaceful protests, and I guess I'll just interject this stuff because it's more my hot spot. But I wonder sometimes if people really understand what peace is when you see stuff like that. because I have people that are far left, they're again on my Facebook, that are considered, I mean, they're considered Christians, but they keep talking about peaceful protests, and there's nothing peaceful about it. You can't be fighting the ICE officers. You can't be throwing stuff. You can't be spitting. You can't be kicking out taillights. You can't be making all that
Screaming
disruption,
and,
screaming, and
blocking them with their
yeah,
car.
blocking
and-
their operations. You can't be doing that if you really understand what peace is. It's not
Darren, Darren, that's exactly like our, again, great Governor Gavin Newsom and the mayor of LA when there's so-called peaceful protests, but yet you see cars being burned and
Right.
stores being looted behind the reporter, and yet all they claim is that this is a peaceful protest, and it's like, what are you guys watching? Because if you're watching what I'm watching, I don't understand how you can say that.
No, there's
No.
nothing. There's nothing there that is peaceful. I would lose
Yep.
if I was those ICE officers. I would lose my mind. I mean, I lose my mind if the dogs bark 2 times and
Yes.
don't shut up. Then I'm losing my mind. And so if I had these
That's
idiots,
true.
yeah, it's true. If I had these idiots blowing whistles and honking horns and in my face and screaming, and I mean, I can't say that. I mean, I would probably go postal on them, and so I don't. That's another reason why
They're showing great restraint, is what you're basically saying.
I think
in
they're showing
comparison.
amazing restraint that they only shot 2 bullets into the dude. So
It's just one more good reason not to be there.
yeah,
Exactly,
don't be
exactly.
there.
You know?
Yeah,
Don't
if
be-
you're
Well, and
It-
the guy they went after, the dude that they were there to get, was a sex offender.
yeah, the terrible people that
Yeah,
they're
the
trying to
terrible people,
get. It's
right.
like, I mean, I'm friends with a number of illegals, and most of them are really good people. But why protect? Why protect the garbage? The good ones are getting gathered up as they find them.
But
Mhm.
but there's
they're
a
looking-
reason for that, because way back, well, during Obama's term, is they did go out in the community, and they did pick up people, but a lot of times they would ask for a ICE retainer, and these blue states would comply, and they would hold the person so that they could come get them. Well, now these blue states and blue cities, they do not want the ICE to come to the police station. They want them to go into the community so that they can
Yeah.
have this chaos.
Yeah, so they're all seeking the chaos. They're not seeking peace. They're not seeking peace. It's just BS. They're seeking chaos.
Well, what's happening in November?
Oh yeah, exactly.
And
Election.
I
Yep.
mean, I said,
Oh,
a couple of
Jason.
podcasts ago that it's just going to get worse throughout this year. But anyway, go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was just going to say I agree with you, and it's not just November. I think it comes down to that they are panicking over the 28 election,
Yep.
and then you throw in there the 2030 census, and depending on how the Supreme Court rules on the
Illegals.
Voting Rights Act,
Mm-hmm.
it's devastating, and I think they are desperately reacting because the writing's on the wall.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're right.
Especially when you look at birth rates, when you look at the
That was just
population, the population shift with the people leaving the blue states going to the red states.
Yep.
There looks to be a electoral and representative landslide shift without even before even going to the polls.
Yeah.
And when you talk about birth rates, we so
Sonny's been itching to
I've
talk
been
about
itching
this
to talk about the
birth rate thing.
so the Benny show on Thursday. He talked about the difference between MAGA and liberals with regards to procreating, and MAGA is having babies at a greatly increased level, and liberals, this is pretty much true. Anybody who's out there can see is liberals hate their lives so much that they're castrating themselves by cutting off their balls or having their female organs torn out so that they cannot reproduce. And even with the increased birth rate of MAGA, Christians, the Muslims are outproducing by far.
Yeah, the Muslims are cranking them out.
Yeah, and
They're the old time Catholic,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
making their quivers
Or
full.
Mormon. LDS.
LDS,
LDS,
yeah.
In fact, that was one of my topics too, was because obviously, well, go back a little bit, is that liberals obviously loathe their creator and his creation, their life, when they support self-mutilation. I mean,
Yeah.
do any of us argue with that? I mean, I
No.
don't think so.
No.
But so when we talk about LDS, I don't know, was that Jason? Was that you who said
Yeah.
that? So we started talking about this. Darren and I were talking about that. Is why is it illegal for fundamentalist LDS or the
FLDS.
Mormon?
Yeah, no, FLDS is, but fundamentalist.
Okay. I thought maybe I said something wrong. Okay.
Not bad.
The Mormon faction to have multiple wives, and just for the record, we're not condoning that. But Muslims in this country can have multiple wives. However, when we looked it up, it says that bigamy is illegal in all 50 states.
Yep.
So it is illegal, but Sharia law says that Muslims can have up to 4 wives, meaning, but because it's illegal, only one of their wives actually gets the legal benefits. So the other women, I guess you could say, they may consider them a wife. They actually can conduct a religious marriage ceremony, but it's not legal.
They at least get the good man.
They
Those
get
other 3 wives get the good man.
Yeah. So you figure these Muslims, they're having 8, 9 kids per woman. So they're reproducing at a massive rate.
They will change the dynamics of America by themselves
if allowed. Yeah. So, but anyway, again, it's not recognized by the state or, by the federal government. And there's no legal protection for the other ones. I don't know.
I have a question, kind of relating. And John, have you heard? Has the ruling on the birthright citizenship been released yet? I don't believe it has.
I don't believe
Has it?
so.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I don't
but
think
I
so.
don't believe in it.
Right.
I don't think
With how it's been interpreted, I'm hoping that gets straightened out.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I think that's something that's in the administration's their goal. That's something they're working on. Is because
I think the Supreme Court has already heard it. I think we're waiting for the ruling.
I think you're
Is
right.
that right? Am I right on that, John?
Yeah, I think it's a timing thing.
If I remember right, we heard that was sometime possibly in the summertime is when a ruling might come out, and
Which
that's
makes sense.
might, because you're
So
right,
they have
Jason.
they have to rule by the end of the session, which is July 1st. So
Okay.
Oh, there we go. See, I wasn't even aware.
It can come out anytime between now and July 1st.
Let's see here.
So that's why the the people who were reporting on this said that they expect that it would probably be in the summertime, meaning June.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so
Usually the controversial stuff is saved for the last minute release.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I know they're like the tariff stuff. Has that been ruled
That has
on?
not been announced either.
So I'm thinking that that's all.
It's got to wait
Yeah.
till after the elections, probably.
It could very well be.
I think it has to be out by July 1st, before the end of the session, because they've heard it in this session. They have to release a ruling, and it's kind of why there's some big cases that are up for review that weren't accepted and they weren't denied. But the bad thing is the Supreme Court's now on break until I want to say the 20th of February, and nothing will be taken for this current term because they have to get these opinions out before the end of the term.
Do you happen to know what the title of that case is that you were talking about? I'm on their docket.
Which one? I don't think I do.
Oh, the one about birthright
Yeah,
citizenship?
the birthright citizenship. Do you remember what the name of that case is?
Let me see if I can find it here.
What's next thing there? Do you have
So
anything?
while you're looking there, I had this written down, and I was going to say it earlier, but we got moved on too fast. So the main outline that the federal government is responsible for in the Constitution is war and peace, treaties with other countries, and commerce. Everything is external. So, and if you read the very first part of the Constitution, it talks about the general welfare of the people.
Hey, John, that's
Yes.
Trump v. Barbara.
Trump v. Barbara, and I'm not seeing it on the. Let's see. No, it hasn't been decided yet.
Yeah, they heard it, but they haven't made a decision.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we've heard is that they are expecting to have a decision by summer. That means probably towards the end of June, or because it has to be before July 1st, as Jason said.
So I'm going to read this really quick because we don't know when that's going to come out. Hopefully before June. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. You notice there's no freedom in there. It's all
Yeah.
liberty. To ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So there it says for. On the cover it says of.
Mm,
So
that's interesting.
there you have it.
So, one thing that going back to the polygamy is that in the United States, in 1878, it was the U.S. v. Reynolds, and the court held that marriage between one man and multiple wives was unconstitutional. And that's when polygamy became a crime in all states.
Wow.
So there again, I'm going to say it again. The government has no business in marriage.
Er,
So my opinion is we need to go back to common law. And our marriages are written down in Bibles. Our births are written down in Bibles. But that's just my opinion.
Right. And you're saying what in regards to that? It's
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to keep track of more than one woman, but I mean,
No,
like,
that would make me crazy.
oh, exactly.
That costs
I lo-
that costs extra, doesn't it?
Uh,
A lot extra.
A lot.
Cost extra? Are you kidding? Couldn't
It
afford
does.
it.
It'd
My
be
last- my-
fighting between the wives.
Yeah, my last divorce in 2006 cost me like $7,000.
Oh, that's nothing.
In today's money, yeah, it would be a lot better, a
I
lot
was going to
worse.
say, was that just the retainer fee for the lawyer?
No kidding.
No, the retainer fee was $5,000.
Yeah, you got off cheap.
I did.
Oh, that's funny. Now I've got
Wow.
I've got a keeper this time, so I can't imagine.
So I know we have just like 5 minutes or so. Did you want to talk about the Second Chronicles?
Oh, well, I don't know if we hardly have time, but
Yeah,
it was interesting because one of our followers, he was kind of wanting more encouragement that you know, you've got all this kind of heavy kind of negative stuff, and then it's like, okay, there does need to be some encouragement. And so it was kind of interesting. I found because it all comes down to the only being that is going to fix this problem is God. And one of the interesting things that Sonny and we were looking at last week, you know, a few days, is where God brought the enemy's army against his own army,
His own people.
his own people. And it's like, why would God do that? But in every situation, because I always like to look deeper rather than just going, well, God justified army or, you know, wars. It's like, yes, he did justify wars, but why did he justify the wars? And the reason that the wars were happening was because
They were not following the laws.
his laws, commandments, and statutes.
Right.
And so he brought the other army, he brought the enemy's army against his own people to make them desperate so that they would seek repentance.
Mhm.
And then I found this passage in Second Chronicles that I thought was really good in Second Chronicles 2 and 22 through 24. And it says, God caused the allied armies of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir to turn on each other and to destroy themselves when they came against King Jehoshaphat and Judah. As the people of Judah sang praises, the Lord set ambushes among the enemy forces. And so it's the stories of Jehoshaphat. He faced a vast, overwhelming army and responded with fasting, prayer, and appointing singers. Fasting is denying of ourselves. Sonny and I recently did a fast. Me, 5 days, her 4 days. And we understand a little bit about denying of yourself food. And so
All you can think about is food.
yeah, all you can think about is food. But the fasting, I'm not sure that it was just fasting from food, but because it's denying yourself, your anger, your fears, your guilt, your shames. It's dealing with that stuff, which is actually what God is looking for us to repent from, searching ourselves and repent from the garbage. So I found the outcome was fascinating. The enemy soldiers were confused by the Lord and attacked. Okay, they attacked and completely destroyed one another, leaving the people of Judah to take 3 days to gather the spoils. So that I don't think we believe. I don't think we believe really that God will do that. But when we do our part, providence will move, and he has that ability to confuse the people rather than all the confusions that's going on with, you know, between even the ICE officers and the protesters. It's confusion. It's just mass chaos. And
It
you
is
can't
mass
say
chaos.
that one side is winning over the other side. And that's what God has the ability to do. He can either have the two sides fighting each other. There again, what we mentioned in one of those other podcasts where Jesus said he didn't come to bring peace to the world, he came to bring division.
Mhm.
And so, you know, people often bring God into this whole conversation, but we need to look. We need to do a better job of looking within ourselves and going, okay, is God really helping us to win this battle? Because He's got the ability. You think of David and the Philistines. It took one man who was obedient to God to subdue an entire army with
Hmm.
one stone and a
Right.
sling. And so anyway, we have the power behind us, and so that's the encouraging thought for the day. It's
Can-
like let's
Can you
So-
change.
imagine what that would look like?
Oh
if they
yeah,
just-
Yeah.
If
even
they laid down all their arms and just knelt down and
yeah,
started praying together.
yeah, exactly.
I
Or
mean,
even that,
talk about
knowing that
peace.
God had done that, of sitting there watching the two enemy, battalions or whatever fight each other and lose. So
Eh.
we anyway.
Oh, I was just going to say is that in regards to fasting, I was talking to a woman recently who was talking. She's I don't remember what religion, but anyway, and she was talking about fasting. And I told her, I said, I don't know how, because she said they do it for 30 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was
Wow.
like starved after 4 days. And she said, oh no, we just don't eat meat. So, so a lot of the religions, they believe fasting is just removing the meat.
Yeah, there's huge interpretation discrepancies as to what fasting is. I mean, the fast that Sonny was on was a little bit different than mine. The one that I was on was purely a water fast.
Right.
And so there's huge discrepancies as to, and I guess that's what I look at also, the interpretation of even like the Constitution or whatever. What is your interpretation of what is peace versus mine? And
So we are at beyond time. So, Jason, we want to thank you for coming on
Yeah.
and for your expert knowledge of the Second Amendment.
yeah, it was great getting your
Can I give a
education.
quick? Can I give a quick plug for some encouraging
Sure.
two-way stuff?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I'll be quick. So I know there's a lot of debate on the effectiveness of Cal Bondi. This is not relevant to this, but we do need to be grateful that this Department of Justice is the most friendly to the two-way community.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
They have both written briefs and testified in support of the two-way in the assault rifle and magazine capacity ban in the Circuit Court of Illinois. They've also written a brief and testified before the Supreme Court in the so-called vampire case against the state of Hawaii. They have brought in lawsuits against LA County for taking 2 to 3 years to issue CCW permits.
Wow.
And they also came out in DC. They also have a magazine capacity limit, and they have come out and said, we will not be enforcing this. We will not be prosecuting it. Carry your standard magazines, not a problem. And so it's every day it seems like there is something new in support, and that's really the first time I think in history that that's ever happened.
And
Sure.
that's amazing. That
And-
really, and 2A, just for those of you out there, means Second Amendment. So,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Basic for us.
yeah.
So anyway, right on.
But anyway, so
Yeah, Jason, we could have some really great
yes,
conversations.
we could. We should have another
We
one.
should.
We'll have you back another time if you're willing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our-
Yeah, I
Our-
think it would be interesting to talk about the current cases in states and Supreme Court and what's going on. Would be to me, that's interesting. I don't know
Sure.
if it is to other people, but
Yeah, no,
Right.
but you have a lot of knowledge and you do a lot of research,
Yeah.
so we appreciate that. So
Good
in
to
the
share.
end, yes, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for those of you who are watching. And we want to remember what we always say: keep it real,
Keep
and
it
keep it
authentic.
authentic. Thank
Love
you.
you guys.
Love
Thanks
you
for
guys.
watching.